My name is Courtney Terry, and this is Arts Alive. My guest today is Michael Wade Paull, local author, and we're talking today about your newest book, which is Feathered Fables. And I got to take a special sneak peek at it earlier today, and it's so exciting. And you've written, this isn't the first book that you've written.
Correct. This is actually the third self-published book that I've written. And two of them are children's book. One was a chapbook of poetry.
Yeah.
Because I've been writing poetry, seems like my whole entire life, which is pretty close to the right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and we know each other because you come to the poetry nights at the library that I host all the time.
Right.
And your poetry's been wonderful there.
Yeah, it's been doing pretty good. I've been pretty happy with most of it, So.
Yeah.
But the children's books are kind of a new endeavor within the last decade or so, and I'm really enjoying it because I have kids.
Yeah.
Kids are where it's at, and I ain't lying, man. Kids are the future of America, and I love to cater to them if I can, and and this book in particular has some, because it's a fable, these stories seem to have a, well, hopefully they see it. Each story has a lesson or a moral, you could say.
Just something that you could take away with it, from it.
Exactly. And so I envision parents reading this to their young kids, although I think you enjoyed it. So
I did, and I mean,
it's kind of weird, so it's got a crossover factor that, kids will like it. And the artwork, of course, we went all out on the artwork this time. And I had a professional illustrator do the other books, but this time we did the art so that it's exactly from the heart, art from the heart.
Yeah.
Okay, right? So I wrote the story and I did most of the art. My wife did some of the art and the illustrating, and but yeah, it's each story has a moral, and I envision parents reading this to their kids and then saying, "What do you think of it?" And they say, "Wow, gee. The crow really did do, something."
Yeah, I enjoy all of your, there's quite a few crow appearances in your book. So there's three or four different stories.
Yeah, 4 stories, 3 poems and 1 actual story. The cat and the parrot, that's the story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then the other poems are necessarily involving birds.
Yes.
They're all birds, like seagulls, crows, vultures, they're all in there, the whole pack.
That's why I loved reading it, because you incorporate so many different birds in there, and then the illustrations.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was one of the 3 different owls sitting on on the branch, and that was probably one of my favorites.
Oh, good to hear that.
I'm an owl fan.
Oh yeah, owls well, being a librarian, owls are wise.
You're right. Thank you. I need to put that together more often. That's why. And so, can you tell me more about? So I know there was one of these poems I've heard before, because you've had that one for a while, and I love that you've put it into this book. And so some of them were things that you had already written, and then were these fables that kind of just came to you, or did you sit down and say, I'm gonna put this together?
It's kind of funny how it all works out, I am not the kind of a writer where I devote 2 hours every day to writing. I write when I get the urge, and then sometimes it pours out. It's unbelievable how, sometimes if you're inspired, it just comes and, there it is,
Right.
That's a really good way. Sometimes you have to, and then rework it, edit it over and over to get it to the perfect part. So it's been quite a long time, but one of these stories, like you said, a story about the crow.
Yes.
And anyway, the name of the poem in this case was "Local Crow Implicated in Murder."
Yes.
So it sounds pretty nefarious, but really it's just a murder is a group of crows.
Yes.
And but people have this thing about crows that they think they get into everything, and ravens and crows are got this mystique about them that people think, oh man, crows are bad, but they're not. They're not bad. They're actually awesome.
That's what I have some friends that have like crow friends, and that's what you can, not necessarily teach them, but they would leave like nuts and things out, and then the crows would start bringing things and leaving things for her.
Really?
Crows are super, super smart. So honestly, the crows in your stories, and I like that also they kind of, in your story, they have kind of a little bit of this like trickster aspect and this mischievous, but fun.
Yeah, they're definitely, in this case, they're pretty mischievous. Yeah, actually, a little bit of a sidebar. Me and my wife were up at Mount Hood one time quite a few years ago, and we looked up in the air, and there were these two birds flying around, and they were large and black. And so we thought, wow, those crows are doing something. Well, one of them had something, and it would fly up and drop it. The other one would catch it in midair and then fly up above and drop it for the other one. They did it for like 10 minutes. It was like our own circus. We were there watching these crows.
Crows get bored too. They need to play.
They're unbelievable. I love those things. And, but then again, around here in Oregon, we're lucky. We have a fairly large bird population.
Yeah.
And we feed the birds, and of course, they thank us by stealing all the cherries off our tree.
Right,
one night. But anyway, as far as the stories go, some of these things are made up fiction, but most of it has been something that I've noticed about birds in my own life.
That's
so
cool.
I took it upon myself to, oh man, that would be an awesome story to create. Like the seagull and the crow. There's another one in here about the Brock the crow and Gary Gull.
Yes.
Two friends. Well, that kind of deals with another social issue that you can get a lesson at the end of it, black and white. And so there's something there. I won't say much more about that, but crows and seagulls are really awesome as far as they're like thieves. They're worse than crows. Really.
Honestly. Honestly.
If you had to place a blame, I think seagulls are probably more mischievous.
Well, and I think that works so well, especially for writing the stories like you're talking about with the fables. And I say, they're simply written, but not simple and they use easy words and things. But I feel like it's that kind of thing where kids can understand it, adults can understand it. It kind of has these universal, and it's written in a really kind of straightforward way. And I do it really. I read Aesop's Fables when I was a kid, and that's always at the back, and just kind of that format makes it so easy for anybody to enjoy.
Yeah, and like I say, in this case, I think any adult could read the book, and they would like it, and they would then take pleasure in presenting it to a child, in that respect. Or the kids, I've had good reviews on this, I've put it out there, obviously.
Tested with the market audience.
Seems like, it seems like it's gone over pretty good. Not everyone has heard every story.
Yeah.
And there is another one in there about a parrot, and a parrot and the cat, right?
I really like that.
A naive cat and a devious parrot. So that's a good one.
Which I know, and that kind of I feel like that turns it a little bit. Usually the cats are crafty. Yeah. That was a really fun one. And then I think just also the illustrations are so much fun to look at. They're just the way that you draw the faces and things on the birds and the cats. I also think there was an old man in one of the stories, and the old man.
Pedro.
Yes,
yeah, Pedro,
I could the illustration. I could just absolutely imagine. And so these illustrations are some of them. Was it say the illustration? Did you do the illustrations as you were writing the stories?
Some of them were for a long, yes. Most of them were created since we put the stories in a format, 4 stories in a row. Then I decided, instead of having an illustrator brought in, I thought, I'm just going to draw these. So a couple of them were from a couple years back. I have a book, I'm a sketchbook. I kind of do art as well. So I had some of them already done, but then once I got in the mode of it, then it was starting to do it, And then the wife did some for one story. She did some of them. I said, hey, why don't you pitch in here and help out? And she did.
Oh, she's seen the birds
yes,
too.
she's an awesome artist herself. So, no, I just, at that point, I decided to go ahead and make them, and then I did them all. So, well, probably, in a time span of maybe a month, I did most of these. So, yeah, it took about a month probably. So.
And so was it what was the medium? Where is it? Colored pencils?
Colored pencils. And yes, colored pencils and some ink, a little bit of ink, and then also just regular graphite, dark pencil. So, and charcoal. I used a little charcoal, but then I, scanned the picture, of course, and had to put it in a computer and did some stuff like that. Mostly that was Jerry, because I'm not real computer savvy.
That's
I'm more
You're
a
a team.
hands-on kind of guy,
Yep.
you know what I mean? Draw with a pencil, not in these days. I mean, they draw with,
Oh yeah, they can do all sorts of. They can
it's
use their
amazing.
minds. It's in
I'm getting
there's all
left
sorts.
behind, but oh well.
But you're still creating,
Yeah.
and we are able to get them online. And
Yes.
and it's so cool that you were able to self-publish that. And then was that you said this is the third book that you've self-published. How do you do it?
Well, it costs money.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
So fortunately, I don't. I'm not wanting for money. I'm retired, and I've been retired now for about 7 years. So, but I have an income that's good, and it keeps me going. And I do side work on the side, but mostly, getting it. If I cut out the middleman like the illustrator, I did it myself. That saved some money. Yeah. But actually, the fact is I haven't really done the marketing. I'll be honest with you. I haven't marketed. I've only I haven't sent any of the book stuff out. I've sent some of my stories and stuff out, and then luckily we have Paper Gardens, the local book, Arts Alliance. So it's a really great place. And speaking of kids and stories and all that, that's really awesome. One of my favorite things. Anyway, I just haven't had the right opportunity to land a so-called. Well, first you got to get an agent. Half the time you got to get an agent, man.
And I feel like so many people are finding other the non-traditional ways to go through and get things published. Because otherwise it's super costly.
If you just I just don't spend the time. I'm more happy to sit and write and all that. But we're turning a page now. Once you get a little bit of a library going, a few works. Then it becomes easier to go out there and sell them that way. And I'm doing some book signings coming up for this book. I did some for this book here. So we're going to be doing some, and so I mean, I won't give figures, but I still haven't recouped all my money yet. but they're in a few local entities around here that have the copies. And of course, one's in your
we'll have a copy in the library. So the official publication day
is next week.
Okay. And
actually, the fact is it'll be. I just still have to order the copies. How many I want, so forth, and then we'll start shopping them around. Yeah. And and I'll have them for sale myself. Yep. You can access all these works on Mike Paull Works or Mike Paull Author, and that's MikePaull on Facebook. That would be the best place to go. Mike Paull on Facebook, Author, and all these are on there. And then also you can go to Amazon. And put in my name and the name of these books, or just put in my name. There is another author out there with my name, Mike Paull, so you got to kind of watch that, I don't know I'm not sure what he writes. I think he writes about something that's totally opposite from what
it won't be.
Yeah.
Won't be like this.
Yeah, right. Children's stories are my forte.
Yeah, great. Well, I'm so excited for you, Mike.
Yeah,
this is wonderful. And thank you
awesome.
For coming in and taking the time to talk with us about it.
Shoot, I couldn't be happier, I tell you. So, it's a really great, appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
I don't want to block this.
No. Thanks. And this is Courtney Terry, and this has been Arts Alive.